Time now 9:12. Well, violence against law enforcement seems to be more common nationwide. Even here in mid-Missouri, a Boone County deputy was shot at just a few weeks ago. And in Ferguson, 2 officers were hit with gunfire while policing a protest. Joining me today to talk more about this issue that law enforcement officers face is Boone County Sheriff Dwayne Carey. Sheriff, first off, thanks for coming on today, as always. Some say it's a scary time to be in law enforcement. Is this something you agree with?
I do. It's changed a lot since I started some 25, 26 years ago. A lot more violence, a lot more gun violence, something that really has escalated over that 25-year period of time to where no one seems to fist fight anymore. Everybody has firearms, and disputes that would have been handled just in the schoolyard brawl type setting is now shots fired and that type of thing. So it has changed a lot. It has. Yeah,
so you mentioned basically things are changing in law enforcement, and you've been in law enforcement for about 26 years, you said?
Going on 26, yeah.
And so a lot has changed. How do you react as a sheriff in that realm of how to tell your deputies to handle incidents like violence?
Well, we do a lot of training, and we talk a lot about, we have a simple motto: treat everybody like you'd like your mother to be treated if they give you the opportunity. If they don't give you the opportunity, then we have an ask, tell, make policy, to where you're asking politely for them to follow the directives that you're giving them. If not, you're then directing them, telling them, and at that juncture then you have to make them, because you have to do your job. If you have to take someone into custody, then you need to do your job and get them into custody. And that's where you see a lot of the protest and things such as that. The UVA student here recently, media, no offense, only shows that part where they have him down on the ground, and you know, for law enforcement, we have to take that individual into custody. So the part about him being underage, belligerent, being refused access into the bar, they then go hands-on with him, take him to the ground. He gets a big cut on his head, which anybody knows the old country expression is, you bleed like a stuck hog if you get a cut to your face. And so that's the problem, is as media presents this, then it kind of fuels that fire. And even in Columbia, Boone County, we're seeing individuals just in normal interaction that, you know, they show their hands and, hey, don't shoot, you know. And so a lot of that, I think, is fueled by the media, not maybe portraying the entire incident to where people can have a good perspective as actually what happened. They're only seeing that small piece.
And do you feel like sometimes with that, a lot of investigations, you can't reveal a lot to the media, unfortunately, so sometimes it's hard to get both sides when you have to keep things close to the chest when you're doing that investigation? Do you think it's kind of sometimes hard to give that balance for us media?
It is, but the thing about it, like, again, we'll stay with the UVA, whoever did the video from the phone, whether did they get the start of that all the way through, because the only thing that I have seen is just with them having the suspect down on the ground and him yelling, I'm a UVA student, UVA student. Where's the part of the video from before, from the start of the interaction, because I'm assuming somebody did that. So I think that sometimes the citizens as a majority are not getting the full story. And I've been talking a lot about this as kind of a diatribe, that there was a study done a few months ago that, you know, 95% of the population follows the 3 C's when they're interacting with law enforcement. They're courteous, they're cooperative, and they're compliant. And if you follow those 3 C's, you're going to have a really positive interaction, most likely. But it's 5% of the population that doesn't follow those 3 C's, and that's what is spurring the vocal minority and these protests. You know, the interesting thing that I thought, when the 2 officers were shot in St. Louis, when you think about the protest for the initial incident in Ferguson, everybody's wanting to protest to make a right or a wrong into a right. So when the 2 officers are shot, who aren't Ferguson police officers, you know, where is Holder and all the big officials that came in for the first Ferguson? Because again, there's no one protesting the fact that law enforcement officers are getting shot just simply for doing their job. And so that's the problem that I have. I think that societal problems have been dumped into the lap of law enforcement. Everybody wants us to fix it. And then when we come to the table with our solution, not everybody likes our solution.
And sometimes even turning violence against the solutions that you have. What did you think when you heard the news about those two officers in Ferguson actually getting hit with the gunfire?
You know, again, my initial reaction is, where are all the upper politicians now? Why aren't they coming in saying, we've got to correct this wrong and make it a right, like they did back in 2014? And so I get frustrated as a law enforcement guy, kind of as a mother hen to my folks. You know, where is that silent majority? At what point is that silent majority going to come out and say, enough is enough? We're tired of this. Law enforcement's doing what we're asking them to do, but it's that vocal minority that's dictating everything, the way we do our job, legislation down in Jeff City or across the country. And so, you know, it does become frustrating to a point.
Do you also, you know, right now, are your deputies, are you advising them to make sure they always have their bulletproof vest on, even taking precautions like that, because it's kind of such a tension-filled time to be in law enforcement?
Well, we have a mandatory wear for us, and so we take all the necessary steps to provide our folks with all the safety that we can provide them, the best equipment in the vehicles and best equipment, tools on their tool belt. So the biggest thing is training and awareness, you know, making them aware, giving them enough resources as far as personnel to do the job. And so we're constantly looking at keeping them safe and them serving the public, and that's what we're all paid to do.
Sheriff Gary, thanks so much for coming on, giving your thoughts on these situations happening nationwide right now.
Thank you.
Well, now here's Brittany with a look at what she has coming up.